I used to be so confident and I lost it while I was in the military. I lost it because I was just trying to look for acceptance from the colonels, from the lieutenant colonels. Like, hey, am I good enough? That was my biggest thing every night. I was like, am I good enough? Which was never a question when I was in high school or middle school. Like, yes, I'm fucking good enough. Like, why am I even trying to compare myself? And I really think it's a lot of the brainwashing that's done, like with the military, to try to get everybody to be such sheep, I'll say, to get that number one strat. Hey, work hard. You're going to get a number one strat on your OPR or your EPR. And everyone's like, oh my God, let me work toward that. I want to stand out. All for what? You don't get promoted too much earlier. Like it's not like you don't have commission, you're capped. Like no matter how much you work, you are capped at that amount. So the way that I was like living my life, which was like, oh, trying to get away with as little work as I could. Of course, I'm doing the work, but I could have done more. You can always do more. And I chose not to.
Before we get started, I wanted to give a huge shout out and a massive thank you to each and every member of our listener support program. Without you, this podcast doesn't happen. So your support truly means the world to me and to the mission. If you're interested in joining the listener support program, follow the link in the show notes, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to Your Story Doesn't End Here, the mental health podcast of military and veterans who refuse to be silenced. I'm your host, Rachel, and my mission with this podcast is to be a voice for those who don't have a voice, bring awareness to mental health issues, provide value and solutions, and to change the culture when it comes to mental health within the DoD organizations. Hey everyone, and thank you so much for coming back for another episode of Your Story Doesn't End Here. Today's guest is Ali. Ali was active duty for a decade, joined as ROTC graduate, separated in September of 2022, and discovered real estate investing, realized she did not want to spend 20 years active duty. The commanders that she would replace were living the lives she did not want to live for herself. She bet on herself, separated to become an entrepreneur, and separated from the Air Force as a net worth millionaire, now making 3 times more than she was making as a major. And she is here to share her journey with others. Ali, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We were finally able to do this. You and I connected a few months back, and it's been really incredible just watching your journey now that you're out of the military. So I'm really excited to hear the story of what led you to where you're at today. So I'm going to pass it off to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So originally, New York transplant, I went down to North Carolina for college. I went to Elon University, did ROTC there because school was very expensive. So I got a scholarship, and originally I had never thought of the military as an option. Like, I'm from New York. Nobody in Southern New York joins the military, right? Like it's not like, Texas. It's very, very different. So I joined the military because they were pretty much giving away scholarships at the time, as long as you had a good GPA, a good standing, all of that. And it was pretty simple. So I signed the dotted line and I told my parents afterward. I told them after I signed up, I was like, hey, by the way, I got a scholarship. They're like, oh my God, doing what? You're not really like too sporty. And so I was like, well, I'm joining the military. And they're like, I'm sorry, what? Why are you joining the military? Because nobody in my family joined the military. It was very, very unknown to us, to me. Um, but so I joined the military, and then my very first duty station was Enid, Oklahoma, and it was actually supposed to be Pensacola, Florida. And I got the call like I think 2 to 3 weeks, no more than 3 weeks, before I was supposed to enter active duty and like enter the service and start my first PCS. I got a call from the ROTC cadre, and she was like, Garced. And I was like, what's up, ma'am? She was like, I'll never forget it. She was like, I have good news and I have bad news. And to this day, I don't remember what the good news was. And she was like, the bad news is you are not going to Pensacola. And I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, do you own a pair of cowboy boots? And I was like, no, I'm from New York. I'm from like almost New York City. And so then whatever, I ship off to Enid, Oklahoma. And fast forward there, I spent, as you already stated, I spent a decade in service, and I originally had only intended to do 4 years ROTC, pay off my scholarship, do my own thing after that, good to go. But my first 4 years, like, came and went, and I didn't really know what to do after that. And 20 years was kinda still on the line too. I was like, "Well, what if I do retire, and then start my second career just like a lot of military members do, like, at the age of 40, like 43, you can start a whole 'nother career, you have a whole life still ahead of you." It's like, "Well, maybe I could do that." And then as I got closer and as I started, like, truly observing what my life would be like, passing through the ranks and continuing to stay in the military and deploy and TDY, it was kinda just like thing after thing that laid on top of each other where I got to the point where I needed to separate. When I first entered active duty, I I don't tell many people this, but I am how old was I? Like 21. I was 21 years old, very capable of entering active duty by myself, traveling from New York to Oklahoma. I was so upset that, I was going to Oklahoma instead of Florida, that I had my dad come with me because I was crying the entire time. Literally, my eyes were filled with water. I could not see the road. So, so my dad actually helped me enter active duty, like, travel across country. And then just fast forward through the different, deployments and, I spent, I PCSed 8 or 9 times in my 10 years in. We PCSed a ton while I was me. I PCSed a ton, while I was active duty. I traveled to maybe, I don't know, 15 countries, spent a lot of time overseas. Specifically, there's this one assignment where I worked pretty much in South and Central America, and I barely had, like, any time back in the US. Spent some time in Afghanistan, and when I came back, like, after every being that I was an officer, I didn't have to, like, extend and have, like, a full commitment. I can kinda just hang on until I wanna let go. The only commitment at the time was just the PCS, which I was PCSing all the time, so boom, another 3 years, another 3 years, another 3 years. So it got to the point where the more that I was looking ahead, like truly taking a look at what is my life going to look like if I were to do the full 20 years, I did not want to have that. I did not want to geo batch and live far away from my family. I didn't want to have to only see my significant other on the weekends. I didn't want to have to travel as much because I might be in the minority here, but I do not like traveling. I don't like it. I would prefer to just stay at my house, go in the pool in the backyard, and like just chill. Like I don't want to go overseas. I don't want to go anywhere. And I know that that's because I'm like burned out now. But I had I had some highs. I had a ton of lows, a lot of lows. And during my time in, it was paying the bills. I had a secure job when in 2012 when I commissioned, a lot of my peers who did not join the military did not have secure jobs. They had a, college degree and they had to serve at the local, I don't know, Pizzeria Uno. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the VA loan. With all of that said, there was a lot of toxic leadership, and I know that the Air Force and military, they really steer away from using the word toxic. It was toxic, and I didn't want to be in it anymore. I didn't want to stay in it long enough to change it. Like, oh, if you don't like it, change it. No, you're one person. Why? That was not my purpose. That's not my purpose in life. Is to change the military structure. Maybe it's others, and God bless them, but it was not mine. So I knew that the best thing for myself was to separate, and that was after I I PCS'd. I came back from a deployment in Afghanistan, and I had finished my first, 4-year commitment. I actually did a whole another year. I had volunteered for that Afghanistan deployment. I come back, and there was a verbal assignment to come here to Tucson, Arizona, after I went to Monterey Language School. And I had verbally said yes when I was in Afghanistan. Then I came back to the States and I was like, you know what? No, I think this is it. I've done my 4 years plus another, plus volunteer for deployment. I did everything right. I think I'm just gonna separate. I don't exactly know what I'm gonna do, but I want out. So I applied for separation and it was denied by my leadership. They said that my verbal yes, even though I never signed a RIP, I never signed my orders, I never signed anything, that my verbal yes over the phone and via email, just nipper email, not sipper, nothing secret, nothing formal, that my yes via email meant that I was accepting this assignment with, we had 6 months left. I even found a replacement, same, same time person that had time on station, time and grade that wanted the assignment. Um, so after that, when they denied my separation, at that point I felt stuck. And when someone tells you not to touch the stove, all you want to do is touch the stove. Hey, if someone denied my separation, now all I want to do is separate. And that started to fuel the fire along with many other things that like broke the camel's back. But I would say that's the biggest thing. So at that point, knowing that there was someone else, and that's just the person who I found. I'm not even the assignments officer. I remember that assignments officer was like, "How dare you do my job?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm trying to make this transition easy for us, the Air Force, our unit." So, okay, I go to Monterey, California to study Spanish for a 12-month long altogether assignment. 9 month of it is training plus like vacation, not vacation, holidays because Thanksgiving, Christmas. So I was supposed to be there for 12 months. At month 2 of me being there, my assignments, headquarters reaches out to me saying, um, "We are moving you. You no longer need Spanish training. You can just go on to your next assignment," which is here in Tucson. And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" We agreed via that email that I, never signed paperwork. We agreed that I have it in writing where you said, what can we do in order for you to take this Tucson assignment?" And I said, "Spanish training, since I'll be needing to speak Spanish." So therefore, Spanish training meant Monterey at DLI, the Defensive Language Institution. And they said, "Oh, well, we looked at your scores, and you took a test in 2012 when you first entered active duty, and you scored good enough. You scored a 2.2." And I was like, "Yeah." And I told you that straight up. That's reading and listening. That's not speaking. That's not doing the actual activities of what I need to be doing. And I was very open and honest with that. You should have looked at my record. That's been on my record since 2012. So I'm like, "Hey, if there is a mission, like you're saying that there is, like if there is a mission for me, who am I to say, no, I'm not going? I signed the dotted line. I get it. Okay, I'll go." So then I called that gaining unit at Davis Monthan. And I was like, "Hey, I'm, Ali Garced. I should be PCS in there in next month, instead of 9 months from now. Can I have some more information as far as what the mission is, like where it is, or, if we need to go on SIPR, talk about it. I just want to know a little bit more as far as, when should my household goods be delivered? Where should I stay until that mission? Do Airbnb, hotel, a friend's house, how long is it going to be? Just some details." So I reached out to them and I spoke to the commander. The commander said, "What do you mean? We don't have missions during that month." And I was like, "Wait, I'm confused. Headquarters just told me that you did," which is the reason why I'm being taken out of Spanish training 9 months early. And he was like, "Why would they take you out of Spanish training? We don't even want you if you can't speak Spanish." And I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense to me." And so I reached back out to headquarters and I was like, "Hey, there's no assignment like you said that there was," which is the reason I was like ready to go. Like, "Hey, if there's an assignment, all right, I don't know. I'll speak half-ass Spanish. I'll use Google Translate, whatever it is. I'll get the job done. I'll try." Um, but there is no assignment and they don't want me until I finish Spanish training. So what's up? And they responded back very poorly. They were like, "How you reached out to your gaining unit?" And I was like, "Yes, as everybody should." But especially in my case where I am going to be PCSing there and then immediately going on a trip somewhere. I don't know where. I want to know where. And that the way that they responded to that gave me like that was just another example, one of plenty, of another like straw on the camel's back where I was like, "Hey, I don't like this. Like I feel like I'm being played." And would they do the same thing to someone who maybe had a whole family, had, dual military in? Because at the time it was just me, myself, and I. Why? Like why are we working this way, which is not like the smart way? They have 8 capable bodies there of people. And now, so fast forward to me PCSing there, they also have plenty of reservists and, other people that want to go on trips, but the process of getting somebody from reservists, onto, orders is near impossible. They make it very hard for reservists to go on active duty. So that's not an organization that I wanted to be a part of. And I should have said this in the very beginning. My views do not represent the views of the DoD. They do not represent the views of, the military. This is just my personal story that I know, no one can change, or try to change my opinion of. It's shit that I actually went through that as I'm being more vocal about now, I realize how many other people were in a similar position, but they didn't speak up. And like I was very scared of speaking up, of making any waves, of going to NIG when I thought I had, or twice when I thought I had pretty good reason to go to an IG. And I didn't. Why? Because I wanted a strap, because I wanted to look good. I wanted to get a faster promotion. And I made a recent Instagram reel about this, but no matter how hard you work when you're in a W-2 setting, that doesn't get you promoted. You have to be in the in crowd, like the good old boys crowd, which very much so exists still today. It's not like a only 50s thing, only 60s thing. It happens now. And if you are not in it, if you are not being groomed for leadership, for promotion, then you're not in that group and you are black sheeped. And that's exactly what happened to me. So, um, and even knowing that I was the black sheep, I still didn't speak out. Like I have some regrets about that, but I can't, live with that too much. What kind of life would that be if that's the only thing that I focused on? So all of that like fueled so much anger in me. I was depressed and on antidepressant medication. I had a ton of anxiety and was on an anxiety meds. I was seeing a counselor several times a week, or a therapist. And I was like, is this it? Am I going to have to do this for another 10 years in order to retire? Because at the time, I had 10 years in, I pinned on major, and I was like, I don't think this is it. Like the way that I'm feeling now every fucking Sunday when I have a panic attack and I can't open my work computer, even though we work from home, I can't bring myself to open my work computer. This is not a way to live. Like there has to be another way. And but it's interesting how when you are in that position, knowing you are miserable, knowing you do not like where your life is at, and still being too scared to make the choice to leave for a potential of a better opportunity, a better life, like you have something that is a fact. The fact is you are unhappy right now. You have panic attacks multiple times a week. You are depressed. It's affecting your spouse's your relationship with your spouse, relationship with everyone. That's a fact. And that fact is like not changing in the near future. And then there is another variable, the unknown. Hey, what if life were to be just slightly different, slightly better? Like, I'm not saying ecstasy and like, rainbows, whatever, but just a little bit better. Would you want to take that chance? And that took me a long time, like as far as like mentally to be able to make that switch. When I PCS at Davis Monthan, I knew that was gonna be my last assignment. Like, no matter what, that is my last assignment. I will not PCS again. I'm separating. Um, and originally I thought I was going to go reservist, and then the whole thing of how I experienced reservists, uh it's so hard to get them when they want to work. I was like, you know what, nah, this program is messed up too. So I separated, and before I did that, I really needed to get my all of my I's dotted to make sure that I was leaving to go to the right thing, because I knew I was running away from something, but that's only half of the equation. Where am I running toward, right? Like what the heck am I going to do? How am I going to replace my major income, which at the time I was making $107,000? How am I going to replace that in Tucson, Arizona, when I don't want another federal job, when I'm tired of W-2, I don't want anything related to the military, I don't want to stay in law enforcement. And so I thought about a lot of things. I thought about what kind of business can I create for myself. My wife told me, how about you become a realtor? And this was like maybe 5 years before I actually became a realtor. I was like, I don't like selling sunset. I don't want to open doors and talk about how pretty kitchens are. That's not me. You know, that's not me as a person. I'm not like cutesy like that. I like numbers. I like black and white. Does it work? Yes or no? But I was like, okay. So after 3 years of her telling me that I would probably be a good realtor, I got my license. I tried it while I was still active duty. And of course, I got permission and everything. I was like, hey, I want to be a licensed realtor, just like a lot of people are. Got permission to do that. And I became a licensed realtor during my last year of active duty just to see two things. One, can I match my income? At least like come close. Can I live off the money of me being a realtor? And two, do I like it? Because I don't want to leave the military for something that's even worse. So check and check. I mean, my first 8 months in as a realtor, I matched what I made as the whole year of me being in the military. And that's while I was still a part-time agent, or real estate agent, not special agent. And then the other thing was I liked it. I was like, you know what? I think this is it. I think I'm going to go full force. So I separated in late 2022. It's been about, I don't know, 8 months since I've separated. And I'm on track to make 3 times the amount that I was making before. I am my own boss. I make my own hours, which right now I will straight up say I am a workaholic because I love what I'm doing. I don't even care. I will work forever. And it's me, you know, like there's no bureaucracy, there's no the politics, there's no black sheeping, there's no you know, behind closed doors type things that I don't have control over. And I never thought that I would be in this position, but it really comes back to the anger and the depression and all of the negative occurrences that I had in the military and using that as fire in order to make me never regret separating. That's my goal, I think. It's like maybe subconsciously is to never regret separating from the military. And so far, I haven't had one day where I even think, "Oh, what if I had stayed?" No, like that is not even a question in my mind. And that is going to be, I think, maybe my goal forever. And maybe that's unhealthy. You know, like maybe my I don't want to say rage because I'm not like an angry, you know, like violent person, but I do have anger inside and using that to be able to do positive things and help people invest in real estate and buy their, you know, with their VA loan and like use the military for the services that you're given and like use it to your advantage. I love that. And I feel like now I found my passion and like my purpose. And this is what I'm going to do for the rest of, you know, I don't see myself stopping me being a realtor and continuing to grow my team because I grew my team like 31 agents so far. And so we're growing at like 3 a month. And the word I use the word team loosely because you typically in the real estate terms, team implies a 50-50 split. They have to pay a lot of, you know, a lot of commission. It's all the resources they get for free. And we give them all the resources and they keep all of their commission.
So a lot of what you said is incredibly relatable, especially with being in the military, the toxic environment, the confusion with communication. I think those are things that like a lot of people in the military can relate to just as the environment. But what really stood out to me is when you talk about that, knowing that it's something that you didn't like, but deciding, you know, is this something that I want to stay in for 20 years? Can I handle another 10 years of this? Or do I get out and experience the unknown? And for a lot of people, they choose to just stay in for that full 20 years and be unhappy. But I think what that does is it trains our brains to be, I don't know if I necessarily want to say followers, but to know that we're not putting ourselves first and put our priorities and what we want first. And so just kind of a different perspective there. But when you decided to get out of the military, did you face a lot of pushback from people in the military telling you to just stay in?
So much. That was majority of it. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't know of one person that was not just at you know my time on station, my time in grade. A lot of people were like, "Hey, 10-year mark. Ooh, let's bounce or should we stay?" We don't know. But I'm talking about like colonels, lieutenant colonels, people that I would have been replacing. I to this day at the time I can't think of one person that said, "Yes, you should leave. You'll probably make more. You'll probably like life better." I did have somebody that said that when I was considering separating before I got my separation orders, or, before it was canceled, or denied at my 4-year mark, 5-year mark. But when you say like training your brain, I definitely want to talk about this. I started becoming the type of person that would try to do as little as I could without being called out, and that's human nature already, but especially being in a W-2 or in the military where a lot of stuff doesn't work all the time. So therefore, like you're blaming your computer on stuff. It just really became so evident when COVID came around and I was the interim commander and we were all working from our own separate homes. And I when I was working, I did my entire day's work in 2 to 3 hours, and then I was done. I was like, "Wait, I would have taken all day, if not 2 days in a row, to do this had I been in the office chit-chatting in the bullpen style office with other military members that just aren't it's not a business. It's not they don't care about how long it takes to get a task done. It's just, "Hey, is my boss gonna find out if I didn't do this today? No? Okay, cool. I'm gonna move it to tomorrow." And that's a mentality. And it's thinking like, you're a captain, you're a major, whatever rank you're in, you start comparing your specific career field to others. And you're like, "Hey, if I was just working in the gym too, I could pass out a couple of towels and they're getting paid the same amount that I am, and I'm working my ass off. Why? Should I? Should I continue work? Should I switch career fields? Should I, whatever?" And it's interesting to I don't know to think about it that way, especially now, where every moment of my life I want maximized at like that's just the way I am now. I'm a total different person now. And I feel like I am the person that I used to be before I joined the military. I'm getting my personality back. I'm getting my humor back, which I had stifled and muffled throughout the last decade. Like I used to be so confident and I lost it while I was in the military. I lost it because I was just trying to look for acceptance from the colonels, from the lieutenant colonels. Like, "Hey, am I good enough?" That was my biggest thing every night. I was like, "Am I good enough?" And which was never a question when I was in high school or middle school. Like yes, I'm fucking good enough. Like why am I even trying to compare myself? And I really think it's a lot of the brainwashing that's done like with the military to try to get everybody to be to be such sheep, I'll say, to get that number one strat. Yeah, hey, work hard. You're gonna get a number one strat on your OPR or your EPR, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, let me work toward that. I want to stand out. I want to stand out." All for what? You don't get promoted too much earlier. Like it's not like you don't have commission. You're capped. Like no matter how much you work, you are capped at that amount. So the way that I was like living my life, which was like, oh, trying to get away with as little work as I could. Of course, I'm doing the work, but I could have done more. You can always do more, and I chose not to, which is and that's not congruent with who I am as a person because I've always been the person that does more. I like starting from elementary school, I would always do like the little extra credit assignments. I would do every single one of them. I would, outread everyone. That's just me as a person. Um, so the way that I was living my life for a decade versus how I am to at my core were so different, and I was becoming further and further away from the person that I actually was, and I couldn't stand it anymore. So when people from left and right, up and down were saying, "Oh my God, you're separating? You only have 10 years to go." I'm like, "That is the sunk cost fallacy where yes, I have spent 10 years in. That does not mean I should spend another 10 years in order to get a retirement." I did the math. I am a black and white person. Like I need numbers in front of me. I try as hard as I can to make my decisions based off of logic and spreadsheets as opposed to how I'm feeling and how I think I will feel in the future. Um, so I did the math and I'm like, hey, if I continue this, being a realtor, I can literally make up for it in 2 years. I don't need 10 years to make up I don't need 10 years to then get the retirement and whatever. I can make that up in 2 years if I continue with the pace that I'm at. And having the proof of what I had done while I was still active duty as a real estate agent, that was enough for me to say, let's do this. And it was scary. I will not say it was easy, no matter even with all of my instances, like stuff that I went through in the military, it was still hard to leave because it's such a certainty. It's a known, and even though working for the government, working for the military is not a secure job, it's still pretty secure. So knowing that I was leaving that certainty for the maybe of myself, I think the reason what like mentally took me a while to get over that hurdle is because ironically I had spent 10 years wondering, am I good enough? I think had I only done 4, I mean, I was ready to get out of 4 with no direction. I was ready to get out. I was like, nah, I'll figure it out. And I would have. But plus another 6 years, so a total 10 years in of me doubting myself, of me comparing myself to others, of me not being in that good boy club, like me not being, groomed for that leadership with a lot of people are not. Like if you're in and and you might not know if you're out. So if you might not know if you're out, you're not in. And I'm like very confident about that. And it's you have to play the game. And of course, a lot of people, colonels will say, oh, there is no game to play. It's a game. The whole thing is a game. It's the game to get the OPR strat. It's a game to go all the functions and chit chat and bullshit. You have to. It's the same thing with corporate life. It's it's a game and you have to play it. And if you're not willing to play it and do the sacrifices, then you're not going to make that highest rank. And that's okay if you like it. Like if you've had good experiences, heck yeah, like good for you. Stay in. Had I had good experiences, I probably would be, content enough to stay in and think, another 10 years kind of sucks, but whatever. I'll get the, golden handcuffs, I'll get a retirement check. That's not me. So as much as I had like depression and anger and anxiety for all the negatives that I went through, I am glad that I went through them because I would not have such like I don't even know the word for it. Like the passion is too soft of a word. I wouldn't have the passion to make sure that I will never regret leaving the military.
That's incredible. And honestly, you talk about 10 years, like 10 years is a very long time. I know people who have became millionaires in less time than that. I mean, there's people that if they really bust their ass and they put their head down and they work, they become millionaires in a year, 2 years, 6 years. I mean, I think about the possibilities of what can be done in comparison. And I know the military isn't going to show people that because they want people to stay in. But but honestly, I think for me, and it sounds like for you too, a lot of it came down to like, what do I really want for my life? And where do I see myself going? And is this a place where I'm happy? And do I feel like this lines up with my values? And that's really where I evaluate a lot of things in my life. If it doesn't make me happy and it doesn't align with my values, then I feel like I really have no business doing that thing. And I think a lot of people stay in the military because of that, the quote unquote security blanket of, people gaslighting you into feeling like there's no other option out there. But let's be real, even if you do 20 years, you still got to get out at some point. So
Yeah.
it's like, you might as well figure out what it is, even if you spend 20 years doing it. Figure out what it is that's going to light your soul on fire when you do separate. So I did want to get into a little bit about the process of you separating and transitioning from military to what you're doing now. Obviously, you started while you were still active duty in the military, but talk us through the feelings and that process that you went through as you were transitioning into no longer being in the military.
Yeah. So the feelings that I was having, I'll start there. I from the very beginning, I think maybe even in ROTC, I heard a lot of the statement of the military might not be for you. And that statement, just black and white and on paper, it doesn't really mean too much, but the way that it was brought up in context a lot, like in conversation, I took it to heart in the wrong way. I took it to mean if the military is not for me, more so flipped it. Like, like I might not be for the military. I might not be cut out for the military, as if that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but because we're surrounded by so many people that are, I mean, everybody's military and everybody's been military, that statement I always had in the back of my mind since before I commissioned, especially because a lot of my friends from New York, they're like, "What the heck are you doing joining the military? You hate authority. You hate, all this." Like, "I don't know, but whatever, it's gonna pay the bills. I don't wanna be a server anymore." So, so that statement, like, always resonated with me, and, I felt that if the military is not for me, then therefore I must be quitting, and quitting is the cop out, and I didn't wanna be a cop out. I didn't wanna to wave my, white flag and say, "Yeah, okay, everyone, the military is not for me." It took a long time for me to own that the military was not for me, and that's okay, because the military is for a very, very specific breed, which was not me. I am choosing to I don't want to make this sound bad for anybody in the military who chooses to stay. Um, but take this with a nicer way of me saying this. But I wanted to make something for myself that I could prove to others. I wanted to work for myself because I know that my work ethic was not the same work ethic that the military. My work ethic, I think, is like harder than those in the military, because it's not a business that they're running. They don't care if the computer doesn't work. If the computer doesn't work, that means they go home for the day and they're still getting paid, which is ridiculous. That would like never happen in like a small business, that's run well, at least. So, I had that in the back of my mind as I was transitioning. I did Skill Bridge, which is like that, training, what do you call it? Internship. So I got my license. I already had my license, and I did, a year's worth. And I very much so am lucky that at my last assignment, I had a boss that I wish I had earlier on. Had I had him as a boss earlier on, I probably would have stayed. I don't know, everything happens for the right reason, I guess, so maybe it was just like leaving the military without both middle fingers in the air, only one. So I was not co-located with him. Again, I'm in Tucson, Arizona. He was in San Antonio. So, and he's civilian. Working for a civilian boss, night and day. He was super cool. So he allowed me to do Skill Bridge. I was approved for 4 months, and that's an internship where during your last 4 months, or six, it could be up to 6 months, you can have an unpaid internship at a company, small business, big business, where you can learn the skills of that, do and therefore decide, is this what you actually want to do? It's an inside view on the work that you're going to be doing every day. And hopefully during that time, if you decide that that's not what you want to do, excellent. At least you're still getting paid by the military, and you can cross that off your list, find something else by the time you separate. So that's something that Obama implemented, I think, in like 2012, to help with the homelessness of vets. And very fortunate to have that approved on my end. So I did that, and that's when I really like dug into me being a realtor. That's when I didn't have to just show houses at night and on weekends. Um, it was a tough conversation to have. Well, it was an easy conversation to have with my wife, as far as like me telling her, "Hey, this is going to take a lot of work. Like our relationship is going to take a dip because I'm doing two full-time jobs right now." So that was an easy conversation to have, but we had to keep having those conversations as it started becoming reality. So at least during Scalebridge, I could start doing that during the day. And I didn't have to work at night. I didn't have to work every weekend if I didn't want to. I still worked a lot of weekends though. And seeing that, being in it and enjoying it, that just like, uh, it was just positive reinforcement even more. And so I separated, and I was, man, I was like so happy. I still am so happy, like grinning ear to ear, knowing that during the last 5 years, like when I first discovered financial independence, I had maxed out my TSP. For 5 years, I maxed out my TSP. The previous 5 years, I didn't even know what a G fund was, and I thought it was good enough. Whatever. A lot of lost money there. But so I maxed out my TSP for the last 5 years while I was active duty. I additionally, any TDY or any other time I had extra money to spend before I discovered real estate, I was throwing into brokerage accounts like Vanguard, VTSAX. So I had index funds there. And I was just like, I'm always like, I've always been very frugal. So, and like kind of like smart with my money. And then I did discover real estate. So I used the VA loan twice. So I used the VA loan, purchased two properties. I now have, my wife and I have like seven properties, eight doors, because one of them is a duplex. So I lined up all my ducks, knowing that this was going to be my last assignment, knowing that it was going to be kind of a longer one. So in that way, when I left, I didn't have to start from ground zero. So I became a realtor, I know after I separated and or rather, I became a realtor before, but after I separated, while I was only a realtor, that's when I was able to just go like at 2x speed. Because which really 1 plus 1 does not equal 2 in that situation. Like 1 plus 1 equals 3, because not only did I not have the military holding me back anymore, I had all day, every day to only think about me being a realtor and growing my business. So then I grew the agents on my group because I had so many leads. Very fortunate to have that. So therefore I could and we can help more of our friends and military members PCSing. So it like tripled the amount that I thought I would be making. And I truly just believe that the your work ethic will come out when you realize, one, your back is against the wall because you don't have a government job anymore, but two, you start working smarter. And that I never had to work smart when I was in the military.
So talk us through what it is that you do now, because I see your Instagram posts quite a bit and I see you growing your team. And I know you work very much with the military still and helping out people with VA loans. But I believe the last time we had a conversation, what you do is very unique compared to a lot of other real estate models, real estate agent models. And so I think it'd be really valuable for the people listening that maybe either they're a real estate agent already, or maybe they're looking to get into real estate, to hear about this model of what you're doing is maybe a potential option for someone else. So I'd love if you just elaborate on that.
Yeah. Yeah, our skill bridge is approved too. So and if you're, not in the Air Force, and if you're, Navy, Army, Coast Guard, I don't know anything about the Marines. But there's an equivalent of the skill bridge, like career skills program. Same thing, and it's approved. So um what our business model is different from other brokerages, because other brokerages, again, if you're a new realtor, sometimes you don't have a lot of clients to help out right away. Although I disagree. If you are in the military, you know of people PCSing every single PCS season, unless you're a complete hermit crab. I'm a hermit crab. I stay in my house every single day, every day, and I still know people PCSing, and I still make pretty good money, So it's using your circle, using your sphere, and being able to help them. So that was another like mental hurdle I had to get over. I'm like, wait, I'm getting paid from this. Like I feel, I kind of feel weird because I've never been in sales before, but it's helping them. Otherwise, they're going to be using a realtor that might not know the VA, might not even be military, might not know shit about military. They don't know what TDY is. They don't know what household goods is. They don't understand. So you are helping them connect them to realtors that speak their language, that can truly help them in wherever they're PCSing to. So our model is not like everyone else's, where it's like 50-50 split. Like we give you all the resources, we give you all the scripts to say and leads, and then every single commission you get, you have to pay us 50%. That's old school. That is like a no-go. Maybe if you're 18 years old and you don't know, nobody around you is buying or selling, and you need to like step it up, cool. Then I would say join a formal team. We are not a formal team. We do not take any of your commission. And instead, we give you the resources, the scripts, the canned emails for buyers and sellers, exactly what to say, the training. We're all pretty much like military background, and a lot of us are investors too. So in case you had investor clients, or if you yourself wanted to learn how to invest, our trainings are free, or they're all recorded in case you join later on. So you can just go into the gold mine of all the trainings and get it all for free as long as you partner with us. We're with eXp Realty. So 80-20 split. I interviewed 13 different brokerages. I wanted to make sure I got the right brokerage the first time, and I did. Everyone else, with the resources that they were giving away, everyone else was charging 50% of my commission, no matter where that client came from. Like if it was my mom, I would still have to pay them 50%. That's ridiculous. In this case, I don't pay anybody anything. And except for the 20% for EXP, which is for them to continue making money, which is every model. So it's amazing. I typically cap out like once the brokerage gets a certain amount of money, then at that point you get 100% commission for the remainder of that year. And I'm able to cap in like 5 or 6 months, and that will decrease every year, right? Like theoretically, as long as business continues. Hopefully next year I'll be able to cap by month 4, and then I'll have 8 months of 100% commission, so on and so forth. So I meet with all the agents in my like family that have, joined the team. I help them schedule their goals, really, like depending on what their goals are. Typically a lot of their goals are just like commission based. We're like, hey, I want to make this much this year. Awesome. Let's work backward from that. How many closings does that mean you need to have? How many appointments does that mean you need to make? How many conversations about real estate does that mean you need to have? And how many, not just conversations, but how many contact attempts do you need to have every single year, every single quarter, month, week, day? And I will say, like, a very good rule of thumb is if you have 6 conversations about real estate every day, the average agent that has 6 conversations about real estate makes an average of $308,000. So that's the rule of thumb that like I use. I put it on my whiteboard when I first got licensed, and that's my number every single day. If I don't have 6 conversations, I at least have like um that night I'll send out a ton of like just conversation starters, right? And this is all done via text. I'm not cold calling. I'm not talking to strangers. I'm not door knocking. I'm not annoying anybody. I'm talking to people that I already know and providing them value. So it's not just like, "Hey, I'm a real estate agent. Do you want to sell with me?" Like, no, it's, "Hey, what market are you in? Do you want to know anything about the market?" It's providing them have you used your VA loan? It's 0% down, stuff like that.
That's awesome because I live in an area, a military town where the real estate agent market is incredibly flooded. And so it's like, what's that thing that you can do to make yourself stand out? And so it sounds like you really have the tools, and that's incredible to be able to give members of the military who are looking to transition out, or people who are a veteran right now and looking for something different, a different option and something else to look at. What advice would you give for someone who is in the position of looking to get out of the military and maybe potentially interested in real estate?
Great question. Shadow, and I don't mean shadow. Shadow does not have to be in person, especially while you're in the military. It's going to be very hard to do that anyway, because pretty much if you are going to be doing that on the weekends, all you're going to be doing is like shadowing open houses, and that's not how a business runs. That's like 1% of how to generate leads. So I would say find someone that is doing that. That's where you want to go, right? Like don't just find someone making the same amount of money as you right now, because hopefully you want to make more money. You're leaving because the military comes with a lot of benefits. You have to factor in the medical costs and that you're gonna have to pay, and etc. So find someone that is where you want to be, and if they are able to take you under their wing, sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. Uh, Shadow them. Do what it takes to get in front to see what the behind the scenes of their business is. Um, and I mean, I do this now. I get people like reaching out to me saying, "Hey, like I'm thinking about becoming a realtor. Can we have a call?" I'm like, "Better yet, I will share with you my calendar. We'll go through my calendar and I'll tell you everything of what I'm doing that whole week, that whole month. I'll show you my year." Like it's, and if that is, as we talk about it, if that is in any way overwhelming to you, or you realize, "Hey, maybe I'm not that much of a people person," which is okay. It well, it's okay, but at that point, it might not be the best real estate agent is might not be the best option. At least at that point, early on before you even attempted to get your real estate license, before you paid for anything, before you got in the business. So, it really is a lot of hard work. I am not saying in any way that this is easy. What I am saying is you are surrounded by people that are PCSing, and is that is like people kill for that. people don't care for that, but it's amazing. Like you are in the best position to be a real estate agent. So even if you don't have the time to actually help somebody sell or help somebody buy, referrals are where it's at. And that's majority of my business now is connecting people that I know are PCSing from Maryland to whatever, New Jersey, California, wherever it is. It's very standard as a real estate agent where you get 25%. I negotiate 30% of that agent's commission because I brought them a qualified lead. You know that they're going to sell. You know that they're going to buy. So, and they're not going to waste your time. A lot of people in real estate waste your time. So, because they don't have to pay for marketing to get that lead, they are more than happy to pay you 25 to 30% of their commission because you brought them a good lead. So I think it's a no-brainer for people who are halfway outgoing, halfway with a brain, to get their real estate license, especially if you're active duty.
So just to set expectations for someone who, they're maybe interested in this field. I know you said that you let people see your calendar and what a typical week or month looks like for you. When you first were getting started, when you first separated, I should say, and you were no longer in the military, what did a typical day look like for you? How much work were you putting into this?
Typical day looked like setting appointments in the morning and going on appointments in the afternoon. That was it. Like I was not worried about what my logo was. I still don't even have a logo. I don't care. You don't need it. Like it wasn't business cards. I don't even have business cards. Actually, I think I do, but I lost them a couple of moves ago and I never tried looking for them again. It doesn't matter. Like that does not matter. You have to find like the most important next step. What is an actual income producing activity? And those are only making appointments, which is conversations, and going on appointments and getting the listing or, opening a door for a buyer and establishing the relationship that way. So that's what I was doing. And a lot of my outbound, reach, my conversations were done over Facebook, Instagram, text. That was it. The way for you to stand out, or the way that I stand out, is I send a lot of video messages. So it's not just like a boring message, especially if I have a lot to say. I'm not going to hit them with a lot of words. Nobody likes reading anymore. So I'm going to say all that over a video text, and I'll shoot them the text or, via Facebook Messenger or whatever. It's something that no one else is doing. So it's establishing that interaction that people aren't having, especially if they're far away, if they're PCSing, but they haven't arrived yet. Here's what I look like. Here's my personality. And then, if you don't like me, perfect. Let's part ways now, as opposed to later when we're under contract. So that's hopefully I answered that question. I don't know if I did.
Yeah, you did. And I think that's a phenomenal tip as far as sending the videos. And you pointed out something that I think a lot of people don't think about is, if you don't like me, let's part ways now. I think people get very much caught up in like, I want everyone to like me, and I want to be like, my idea of success is that everyone uses me as an agent, or, insert reason here, but no one wants to waste someone else's time and no one wants their time wasted. So I think that's an incredible tip. Ali, where can
Yeah.
people find you if they want to work with you, or reach out to you if they just have questions?
Yeah. I have a Calendly. So if they want to just book a call directly, the website is through Calendly. Overall, it's calendly.com/Garced Realty. Also, I respond to every single message on Instagram, and my handle is the same throughout all social media. It's Ali the Agent, and that's spelled ALI, like Muhammad Ali, even though I'm Alexandra. So Ali the Agent with some underscores, and we can just, book a call there as well. I love talking to other like military members because that's exactly where I was, like I remember feeling stuck and not knowing where to go, not knowing if I could even make the same amount, let alone 3 times the amount within months after separation. I'm here for you.
Love it. Well, I'll post all that in the show notes. So if anyone wants to reach out, please do. All the links will be there. Make sure you go follow Ali on social media because, supporting is free. And so we all love to support each other in the veteran space. Ali, the last thing I'm going to ask you is if there's any last words or advice that you want to leave for the listeners today.
I pretty much said everything. I don't want to like rehash anything that I already said, but just know that, trust yourself. You have more in you than you think. And I wish that I had told that to myself earlier on.
Thank you for taking the time to listen in today. With your support, we are able to increase awareness of the mental health issues affecting service members and veterans today, with the goal of creating positive change. If you got value from this episode, please take 30 seconds to subscribe and share this episode within your own network. Until next time, remember, your story matters, your mental health matters, and your story doesn't end here.